All right, so today's word study, we're going to look at Passover. So, Passover, Pesach, from, oh my gosh, I was going to say it too many times. Pesach, to pass, or spring over, or to spare. And in Exodus 12:13.
And the blood shall be to you for a token upon the houses where ye are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you when I smite the land of Egypt. For the Lord will pass through to smite the Egyptian. And when he seeth the blood upon the lintel and on the two side posts, the Lord will pass over the door, and will not suffer the destroyer to come in unto your house to smite you.
17.
And ye shall observe the feast of unleavened bread, for in this selfsame day have I brought your armies out of the land of Egypt. Therefore shall ye observe this day in your generations by an ordinance forever.
And then compare.
As birds flying, so will the Lord of hosts defend Jerusalem. Defending also he will deliver it, and passing over he will preserve it.
All right, so other conjectures connect the word with the passing over into a new year. With Asir Pasahu, meaning to placate, with Hebrew, that's a totally different word. I was about to call the other one. With Hebrew, Paka, meaning to dance, and even with the skipping motions of a young lamb. And then Aramaic, totally skipping all those. Yeah, no. In early Christian centuries, folk etymology connected Pascha with Greek Paschal, to suffer, and then see passion. And the word was taken to refer to Good Friday rather than the Passover. All right. And then these are the sections that we're going to go over. So, first one is, I already forgot it, girl. Pesach and Matzoth. The Passover was the annual Hebrew festival on the evening of the 14th day of the month of Abib, or Nisan, as it was called in latter times. It was followed by and closely connected with a 7 days festival of Matzoth, or unleavened bread, to which the name Passover was also applied in extension. In Leviticus 23:5.
In the 14th day of the first month at even is the Lord's Passover.
Both were distinctly connected with the Exodus, which, according to tradition, they commemorate, the Passover being in imitation of the last meal in Egypt, eaten in preparation for the journey, while Yahweh, passing over the houses of the Hebrews, was slaying the firstborn of Egypt. In Exodus 12:12.
For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am the Lord.
13:2.
Sanctify unto me all the firstborn, whatsoever openeth the womb among the children of Israel, both of man and of beast, it is mine. That thou shalt set apart unto the Lord all that openeth the matrix, and every firstling that cometh of a beast which thou hast, the males shall be the Lord's.
So the Matzoth festival being a memory of the first days of the journey during which this bread of haste was eaten. And then that's a pretty long one, which I think we're good. Yeah.
So we read it. And this day shall be unto you for a memorial, and ye shall keep it a feast unto the Lord throughout your generations. Ye shall keep it a feast by ordinance forever. 7 days ye shall eat unleavened bread. Even the first day ye shall put away leaven out of your houses. For whosoever eateth the leavened bread from the first day until the 7th day, that soul shall be cut off from Israel. And in the first day there shall be an holy convocation. And in the seventh day there shall be an holy convocation unto you. No manner of work shall be done in them, save that which every man must eat, that only may be done of you. And ye shall observe the feast of unleavened bread, for in this selfsame day I have brought your armies out of the land of Egypt. Therefore shall ye observe this day in your generations by an ordinance forever. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month at even, you shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of...
Sorry.
It's okay. And the 21st day, where was I at?
I'm looking for it. Oh, right here.
21st day of the month at even. 7 days shall it be.
Oh my gosh,
11.
why is it doing that? I have to literally hold it. I'm sorry.
Okay. 7 days there shall be no leaven found in your houses, for whosoever eateth that which is leavened, even that soul shall be cut off from the congregation of Israel, whether he be a stranger or born in the land. Ye shall eat nothing leavened, in all of your habitations ye shall eat unleavened bread.
There it goes. I was gonna say, now it doesn't want to go away. Why is it every time I look at it, it's Pesach, right? Is that what you said? Okay, Pesach Mitzrayim. The ordinance of Pesach Mitzrayim, the last meal in Egypt, included the following provisions. 1. The taking of a lamb, a kid without blemish, for each household on the 10th of the month. 2. The killing of the lamb on the 14th at even. 3. The sprinkling of the blood on doorposts and lintels of the houses in which it was to be eaten. 4. The roasting of the lamb with fire, its head with its legs and inwards. The lamb was not to be eaten raw nor sodden with water. 5. The eating of unleavened bread and bitter herbs. 6. Eating in haste with loins girded, shoes on the feet, and staff in hand. 7. And remaining in the house until morning. And 8. The burning of all that remained. The Passover could be eaten only during the night. And then you literally read all that just now. And then Pesach Doroth. This service was to be observed as an ordinance forever. Yeah. So we read that one, and then in 24 it also says, and ye shall observe this thing for an ordinance to thee and to thy sons forever. And the night was to be a Leil Shemurim, a night of vigils, or at least to be much observed, of all the children of Israel throughout their generations. And then we repeat the... Oh, no, this is a different one. Exodus 12:42, it is a night to be much observed unto the Lord for bringing them out of the land of Egypt. This is that night of the Lord to be observed of all the children of Israel and their generations. The details, however, of the Pesach Doroth, or later observances of the Passover, seem to have differed slightly from those of the Egyptian Passover. Thus, it was probable that the victim could be taken from the flock or from the herd. So Deuteronomy 16:2. Thou shalt therefore sacrifice the Passover unto the Lord thy God of the flock and the herd in the place which the Lord shall choose to place his name there. Compared to Ezekiel 45:22. And upon that
day, sorry.
You're good, go ahead.
And upon that day shall the prince prepare for himself and for all the people of the land a bullock for a sin offering.
So then 3, 6, and 7. Here, sprinkling of the blood, eating in haste with loins girded, and remaining in the house till morning. 3, 6, and 7 disappeared entirely, and judging from Deuteronomy 16:7.
And thou shalt roast and eat it in the place which the Lord thy God shall choose, and thou shalt turn in the morning and go unto thy tents.
The prohibition against seething was not understood to apply unless indeed the omission of the expression with water gives a more general sense to the Hebrew word bashal, making it include roasting. New details were also added, for example, that the Passover could be sacrificed only at the central sanctuary. Deuteronomy 16:5, Thou mayest not sacrifice the Passover within any of thy gates which the Lord God giveth thee. That no alien or uncircumcised person or unclean person could partake thereof, and that one prevented by uncleanness or other cause from celebrating the Passover in season could do so a month later. This is what we were looking for. So Numbers 9:9, and the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, what? Hold up. If any man of you or your posterity shall be unclean by reason of a dead body, or be in a journey afar off, yet he shall keep the Passover unto the Lord. The 14th day of the 2nd month at even they shall keep it, and eat it with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. They shall leave none of it to the morning, nor break any bone of it. According to all the ordinances of the Passover they shall keep it. But the man that is clean and is not in a journey, and forbeareth to keep the Passover, even the same soul shall be cut off from among his people, because he brought not the offering of the Lord in his appointed season. That man shall bear his sin. And if a stranger shall sojourn among you, and will keep the Passover unto the Lord according to the ordinance of the Passover, and according to the manner thereof, so shall he do. Ye shall have one ordinance, both for the stranger and for him that was born in the land. Which is an interesting thing to see here in the Old Testament. But I just wanted to point that out because I'm surprised it didn't actually explain that in further detail. But there is provision for those who are unable to keep it, as well as there's a second chance for them to keep it. The singing of the Hallel, Psalm, let me see if I can scroll this up a little bit, hold up. Psalm 113, 1 through 9. Praise ye the Lord, praise, O ye servants of the Lord, praise the name of the Lord, blessed be the name of the Lord from this time forth and forevermore. From the rising of the sun unto the going down of the same, the Lord's name is to be praised. The Lord is high above all nations, and his glory above the heavens. Who is like unto the Lord our God, who dwelleth on high, who humbleth himself to behold the things that are in heaven and in earth. So the singing of the Hallel, both while the Passover was being slaughtered and at the meal, and other details were no doubt added from time to time. So Matzoth, unleavened bread was eaten with the Passover meal, just as with all sacrificial meals of later times. So thou shalt not offer the blood of my sacrifice with leavened bread, neither shall the fat of my sacrifice remain until the morning. Thou shalt not offer the blood of my sacrifice with leaven, neither shall the sacrifice of the Passover be left until the morning. So repeat. And then in Leviticus, if he offer it for thanksgiving, then he shall offer with the sacrifice of thanksgiving unleavened cakes mingled with oil, and unleavened wafers anointed with oil, and cakes mingled with oil of fine flour fried. It's eaten with Passover meal, just as with all sacrificial meals, and independently perhaps of the fact that the Passover came in such close proximity with the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire, and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it. Jewish tradition distinguishes, at any rate, between the first night and the rest of the festival, in that the eating of matzoth is an obligation on the first night and an optional during the rest of the week, although the eating of unleavened bread is commanded in general terms. The eating of leavened bread is strictly prohibited, however, during the entire week under the penalty of kareth, excision. I read that.
The excision, that's putting you out of Israel.
Yep. And then more, yeah, okay. And this prohibition has been observed traditionally with great care. The first and seventh days are holy convocations, days on which no labor could be done except such as was necessary in the preparation of food. The festival of Matzoth is reckoned as one of the three pilgrimage festivals, though strictly the pilgrimage was connected with the Passover portion and the first day of the festival. During the entire week, additional sacrifices were offered in the temple, an offering made by fire and a burnt offering, 2 young bullocks, 1 ram, 7 lambs of the first year without blemish, together with meal offerings and drink offerings, and a goat for a sin offering. The Omer. During the week of the Matzot festival comes the beginning of the barley harvest in Palestine, which lasts from the end of March in Low Jordan Valley to the beginning of May in the elevated portions. The time of the putting in of the sickle to the standing grain so 7 weeks shall thou number unto thee. Begin to number the 7 weeks from such time as thou beginnest to put the sickle to the corn. And of bringing the sheaf of the peace offering is spoken of as the morrow after the Sabbath. And ye shall count unto you from the morrow after the Sabbath, the day that ye brought the sheaf of the wave offering. 7 Sabbaths shall be complete. That is, according to the Jewish tradition, the day after the first day, or rest day of the Passover, and according to the Samaritan and Boethusian traditions and the modern Karaites and the Sunday after the Passover. At this time, a wave offering is made of a sheath, followed by an offering of a lamb with a meal and drink offering. And only thereafter might the new grain be eaten. From this day, 7 weeks are counted to fix the date of Pentecost, the celebration connected with the wheat harvest. It is, of course, perfectly natural for an agricultural people to celebrate the turning points of the agricultural year in connection with their traditional festivals. Indeed, the Jewish liturgy of today retains in the Passover service the prayer of Du Tal, which grew up in Palestine on the basis of the needs of an agricultural people. Non-traditional theories. Many writers, however, eager to explain the entire festival as originally an agricultural feast, presumably a Canaanitic one, though there is not a shred of evidence that the Canaanites had such a festival, have seized upon the Omer, or sheaf offering, as the basis of the Hag festival, and have attempted to explain the Matzot as bread hastily baked in the busy harvest times, or as bread quickly baked from the freshly exempted firstfruits, wherein these theories are superior to the traditional explanations so consistently adhered to throughout the Pentateuch. Probably slaughtered that. It is difficult to see. In a similar vein, it has been attempted to connect the Passover with the sacrifice or redemption of the firstborn of man and beast, both institutions being traditionally traced to the judgment on the firstborn of Egypt, as in Exodus. Yeah, but the firstling of an ass thou shalt redeem with a lamb, and if thou redeem him not, then thou shalt break his neck. Or then shalt thou break his neck. All the firstborn of thy sons shalt thou redeem, and none shall appear before me empty. So as to characterize the Passover as a festival of pastoral origin. Excepting for the multiplication of highly ingenious guesses, very little that is positive has been added to our knowledge of the Passover by this theory. The children of 8 historical celebration actually really quick, let me just say, we're just going to quickly skip 7 if you want to come back and read it, but this just kind of goes off into other theories and stuff, so we're kind of going to skip that for now. So 8 historical celebrations, Old Testament times. The children of Israel began the keeping of the Passover in its due season according to all its ordinances in the wilderness of Sinai, in Numbers 9:5, and then of course they kept the Passover on the 14th day. In the very beginning of their national life in Palestine, we find them celebrating the Passover under the leadership of Joshua in the plains of Jericho. So in Joshua 5:10, and the children of Israel encamped in Gilgal and kept the Passover on the 14th day of the month at even in the plains of Jericho. History records but few later celebrations in Palestine, but there are enough intimations That threw me off. But there are enough intimations to indicate that it was frequently, if not regularly, observed. Thus Solomon offered sacrifices 3 times a year upon the altar which he had built to Yahweh at the appointed seasons, including the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And then 1 Kings 9:25 and Chronicles, I believe, is the same. So, and 3 times in a year, did Solomon offer burnt offerings and peace offerings upon the altar which he built unto the Lord. And he burnt incense upon the altar that was before the Lord. So he finished the house. The later prophets speak of appointed seasons for pilgrimages and sacrifices. In Isaiah 1:12-14, when ye come to appear before me, who hath required this at your hand, to tread my courts? Bring no more vain oblations. Incense is an abomination to me. The new moons and Sabbaths, the calling of assemblies, I cannot away with. It is iniquity, even the solemn meeting. Your new moons and your appointed feasts my soul hateth. They are trouble unto me. I am weary to bear them. And if you read that and get confused, I highly recommend you read the rest of that chapter, because he's hating it for a very specific reason. It's not because he actually hates the new moons. It's because he hates what they were doing during these times. So make sure we clear that one up. And occasionally perhaps refer to a Passover celebration. Isaiah 30:29. Ye shall have a song as in the night when a holy solemnity is kept in gladness. And gladness of heart as when one goeth with a pipe to come into the mountain of the Lord, to the mighty one of Israel. Bearing in mind that the Passover is the only night feast of which we have any record. In Hezekiah's time, the Passover had fallen into such a state of desuetude that neither the priests nor the people were prepared for the king's urgent appeal to observe it. Nevertheless, he was able to bring together a large concourse in Jerusalem during the 2nd month and institute a more joyful observance than any other recorded since the days of Solomon. In the 18th year of King Josiah, however, there was celebrated the most memorial Passover, presumably in the matter of conformity to rule since the days of the judges. So 2 Kings 23:21, and the king commanded all the people, saying, keep the Passover unto the Lord your God, as is written in the book of this covenant. And then moreover, Josiah kept a Passover unto the Lord in Jerusalem, and they killed the Passover on the 14th day of the 1st month. They continued observance of the feast to the days of the exile, as attested by Ezekiel's interest in it. So thus saith the Lord God, in the 1st month of the 1st day of the month, thou shalt take a young bullock without blemish and cleanse the sanctuary. 1st day of the 1st month. That's interesting.
Yeah. So it's like a new sacrifice.
Yeah. In post-exilic times, it was probably observed more scrupulously than ever before. In Ezra 6:19, and the children of the captivity kept the Passover upon the 14th day of the 1st month.
All right. Historical celebrations, New Testament times. Further evidence, if any were needed, of the importance of the Passover in the life of the Jews of the Second Temple is found in the Talmud, which devotes to this subject an entire tractate, Pakachim, on which we have both Babylonian and Palestine Gemara. These are devoted to the sacrificial side and to the what is it?
Minute or minute?
Menu. Okay, of searching out and destroying leaven. What constitutes leaven, and similar questions, instructions in which the children of Israel sought for 30 days before the Passover. Josephus speaks of the festival often. Besides repeating the details already explained in the Bible, he tells the innumerable multitudes that came to the Passover to Jerusalem out of the country and even from beyond its limits. He estimates in 1 year in the days of Cestius country and even from beyond its limits, in the days of Cestius, 256,500 lambs were slaughtered, and that at least 10 men were counted to each. This estimate, of course, includes the regular population of Jerusalem, but even then, it is doubtless exaggerated. The New Testament bears testimony, likewise, to the coming of great multitudes to Jerusalem. And the Jews' Passover was nigh at hand, and many went out of the country up to Jerusalem before the Passover to purify themselves. And the Jews' Passover was at hand, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. And the Passover, a feast of the Jews, was nigh. At this great festival, even the Roman officers released prisoners in recognition of the people's celebration. Travel and other ordinary pursuits were no doubt suspended. And because he saw it pleased the Jews, he proceeded further to take Peter also. Then were the days of unleavened bread. And we sailed away from Philippi after the days of unleavened bread, and came unto them to Troas in 5 days, where we abode 7 days. Naturally, the details were impressed on the minds of the people and lent themselves to symbolic and homiletic purposes. Compare 1 Corinthians 5:7. Purge out therefore the old leaven, that ye may be a new lump, as ye are unleavened. For even Christ our Passover is sacrificed for us. But one of the soldiers with a spear pierced his side, and forthwith came there out blood and water. And he that saw it bare record, and his record is true. And he knoweth that he saith true, that ye might believe. For these were done, and the scripture shall be fulfilled, a bone of him shall not be broken. Where the Paschal lamb is made to typify Jesus, Hebrews 11:28. Through faith he kept the Passover and the sprinkling of blood, lest he that destroyed the firstborn should touch them. The best known instance of such symbolic use is the institution of the Eucharist on the basis of the Paschal meal. Some doubt exists as to whether the Last Supper was the Paschal meal or not. According to the Synoptic Gospels, it was. Luke 22:7. Then came the day of unleavened bread, when the Passover must be killed. Matthew 26:17. Now the first day of the feast of unleavened bread, the disciples came to Jesus, saying unto him, Where wilt thou that we prepare for thee to eat the Passover? And then Mark 14:12. And the first day of unleavened bread, when they killed the Passover, his disciples said unto him, Where wilt thou that we go and prepare, that thou mayest eat the Passover? Well, according to John, the Passover was to be eaten sometime following the Last Supper. Then led they Jesus from Caiaphas unto the hall of judgment, and it was early, and they themselves went not into the judgment hall, lest they should be defiled, but that they might eat the Passover. The various harmonizations of these passages have been suggested. The most ingenious probably is on theory that when the Passover fell on Friday night, the Pharisees ate the meal on Thursday and the Sadducees on Friday, and that Jesus followed the custom of the Pharisees up to the Nicene Council in the year 325. The church observed Easter on the Jewish Passover. Thereafter, it took precautions to separate the two, condemning their confusion as Arianism. 10. The Jewish Passover. After the destruction of the temple, the Passover became a home service. The Paschal lamb was no longer included. Only the Samaritans have continued this rite to this day. In the Jewish home, a roasted bone is placed on the table in memory of this rite, and other articles symbolic of the Passover are placed beside it, such as a roasted egg, said to be in memory of the free will offering, a sauce called charoseth, said to resemble the mortar of Egypt, salt water for the symbolic dipping, compare Matthew 26:23, the bitter herbs and the matzah. The Seder program is as follows: sanctification, washing of the hands, dipping and dividing the parsley, breaking and setting aside a piece of matzah to be distributed and eaten at the end of the supper, reading of the Haggadah Shel Pesach, a poetic narrative of the Exodus, and answer to 4 questions asked by the youngest child in compliance with the biblical command found 3 times in Exodus and once in Deuteronomy. Thou shalt tell the son on that day, washing the hands for eating, grace before eating, tasting the matzah, tasting the bitter herbs, eating of them together, the meal partaking of the matzah that have been set aside as the afikomen or dessert, grace after the meat, Hallel requests that the service be accepted. Thereafter, folk songs are sung to traditional melodies and poems recited, many of which have allegoric meanings. A cup of wine is used at the sanctification and another at grace, in addition to which 2 other cups have been added. The 4, according to the Mishnah, Pekachim times 1, symbolizing the 4 words employed in Exodus 6:6-7. Wherefore we say unto the children of Israel, I am the Lord, and I will bring you out from under burdens of the Egyptians, and I will rid you out of their bondage, and I will redeem you with a stretched out arm and with great judgments. So it's interesting that he released them from the burdens and the bondage to give them his laws. Their bondages in Egypt were these holidays and eating these things, and then they were released from that. I mean, they were in slavery too, but the things that they did, they were all in their culture. So for the delivery of Israel from Egypt, instead of eating in haste as the Egyptian Passover, it is customary to recline or lean at this meal in token of Israel's freedom. The prohibition against leaven is strictly observed. The searching for hidden leaven on the evening before the Passover and its destruction in the morning have become formal ceremonies for which appropriate blessings and declarations have been included in the liturgy since the days when Aramaic was the vernacular for the Jews. And as in the case of other festivals, the Jews have doubled the days of the Holy Convocation and have added a semi-holiday after the last day, the so-called Akur Chag, in token of their love for the ordained celebration and their loathness to depart from it.
So let's just super add real quick that most of this is not actually written in the law of God.
Yeah.
This is mostly added stuff. That is not required at all. Which actually you noticed here when it brought up a verse, that verse didn't say anything about needing to do this ritual here. It literally just brought up a really important fact that is great to know, but does not need rituals associated with it. But yeah, a lot of that's just, of course you want to look at and study what it is they do, and of course they do it for reasons, but it's not something that's necessary for sure. We need... Did you want to go over these?
I think that's long enough.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's pretty long.
Just say, because we're trying to keep it short, that if you want to go and look at the different verses for Passover and the other Wow. Entries for like the dictionaries and
Right,
encyclopedias, things
these
like
ones
that.
here. Yeah, in the dictionaries.
Look more into that on your own. So it's a really big topic and it can go on for literally forever.
Right.
So I just think we should cut it short and go on to
The only
next
thing
one.
I do want is that one article, because I want people to see what you found, girl. Which I know it's in our other video, but I just want to cover it super quick. Abraham's Passover. Because it's super easy to find and super quick to read a couple verses. Oh, I can't change the size. Okay. Oh well. So in here, yeah, they got the story of Sarah. Where's the one? At the time of life. So which one is this? It's saying what? Oh, Genesis 18. Is this Genesis 18 something? Rashi's comments down in verse 10. Okay, so in Genesis 18:14 we see, "Is anything too hard for the Lord? At the appointed time I will return to you. About this time next year, and Sarah shall have a son." So appointed time is the Hebrew word moed, which is the same word used for appointed times of Leviticus 23. And then the Talmud comments, on Passover Isaac was born. How do we know that Isaac was born on Passover? Because it is written, "On the next festival I will return unto thee." Later in Sodom we see that Lot feeds the angels a feast of matzah. So in Genesis 19:3 it says, "But he pressed them strongly, so they turned aside to him and entered his house, and he made them a feast and baked unleavened bread." So you don't always necessarily in the scripture see the word Passover, but if you know what Passover is and you understand the things they do, you will definitely see the mirrors here. So they turned aside to him, made him a feast and baked unleavened bread. This was obviously matzah, of course, is one of the main components of the Passover festival. Lot would soon experience his own personal exodus from Egypt. So there are multiple stories, and you can go. This one was really easy to Google. I'd literally just Googled Abraham's Passover, and it was like the first one. I would recommend reading the rest of that article, because Passover definitely has occurred before the quote-unquote first one that everyone believes occurred. So